Happy New Year, everybody. It's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, January 7th, 2018. See ya, Scott. Take your clothes, take your engagement ring, and oh yeah, here's a bowl of oatmeal for your head. Now get out of Sharon's life. Get out of Sharon's house. I was just so satisfied to see Sharon put the dog in the doghouse where he belongs. Look, Scott is not a bad guy, but he is a bad boyfriend, and frankly, I think he deserved what he got. As a viewer, I was so happy and just pleased with how it all went down. I was impressed, first of all, with the fact that it happened so fast, and it happened in a way that I wasn't really expecting. First of all, after Nick discovered Abby and Scott kissing at the ranch, he made a very smart first move that I wasn't expecting, in that he took it directly to Abby. That didn't even occur to me. I figured that he would have this loyalty to Sharon, but he did a little bit of investigating before he decided to take it to Sharon. He wanted to make sure that, he wanted to get a real beat on what the situation was before he went and blew up her world. So he goes to Abby. He tries to get an idea of what is happening between her and Scott and see if she's going to lie about it, which she does try to conceal the truth, but eventually it does open up to Nick and begins to insist again that things are over with Scott. It didn't really mean anything, yet that's still not an answer that's going to save her from the truth coming out. Nick tells Abby that, okay, if it happened, it still feels like Sharon deserves to know. Maybe it is over. Maybe what you're saying is the truth, but Sharon is owed that amount of honesty. Interesting, though, that that comment was coming from a man who has also cheated on Sharon. I liked that Abby brought that up in the conversation, and Nick says, I will keep your name out of it, Abby. You're my sister. I am not trying to blow up your spot or cause any problems for you. I'm just trying to do the right thing by the mother of my child, who has this man living in the home with her, with my daughter. I want to do the right thing by her, so I am going to tell her. Nick goes to Sharon, says, this is what I saw, and you need to ask Scott about it. I'm not going to tell you who the other woman was, but you need to talk to your boyfriend. Now, Mariah does not have any loyalty to Abby whatsoever. So as soon as Sharon finds out what Nick has told her, she confides in Mariah, and that's all Mariah needed to hear in order to tell everything that she knew. Mariah didn't feel comfortable keeping this secret from Sharon, but she also, when push comes to shove, knows that Sharon did it. At this point, needs to know the truth if someone else has seen Scott and Abby smooching around town. So Mariah says it was Abby. I'll tell you right now who the other woman was. It was Abby. I saw it too. I'm really sorry that I didn't tell you, but I wanted to save you. Of course, I wanted to save you this pain. And I really, really loved that Sharon had this just a great reaction all week. I loved Sharon's reaction. I appreciated the fact that she had a self-awareness to know that everyone didn't tell her this because maybe they were expecting her to go crazy. She's flat out asked Mariah if that's why she didn't tell her, and Mariah said, no, it's not that. And Sharon says, what, did everybody think that I was gonna go nuts and burn a house down? I liked that she had that awareness of herself and the perception of that others have about her, and I loved that she didn't go crazy. I felt like Sharon's reaction seemed real. Every single thing that she did, every step that she took this week felt like something that would happen in a real relationship. Everything that she said felt like something that a person would say if they had learned about this betrayal. Sharon had a moment where she was talking to I don't know exactly when she said it. I don't know if it was when she was confronting Scott or when she was talking with Mariah. I think it was when she was confronting Scott. She said, you know what? One thing that I have learned over the years is that men will show you who they are eventually. You know, I mean, just the fact that it wasn't something that was going to rock her world. It was more of a reaffirmation of things that she already knew. Like, yeah, I've already been down this road and I thought you were different, and that's not the case. She takes it to Scott. She doesn't bury it at all. She says, this is what I've learned. I know your secret. And naturally, he tried to find a way out of it. He tried to talk his way out of it. Same thing that Abby said, saying that it's over, it didn't mean anything. Well, if it didn't mean anything, then you wouldn't still be kissing her. The great part was the fact that she didn't know they slept together. She knew about the kisses. Scott busted himself thinking that Sharon knew about what happened in the storage locker. So the entire truth came out. Sharon knew everything and she handled it remarkably well. Part of me was waiting for her to forgive him, and I'm so glad that she didn't. She really held him accountable for what he did, and I did feel just a teeny tiny twinge of, I guess, sympathy for this poor idiot. I mean, Scott was standing there shaken and stunned, but I'm sorry, at the same time, when she dumped that bowl of oatmeal or whatever it was over his head, I cheered. I was glad to see Sharon learning the truth, taking charge of her reaction, owning it, and then holding him accountable for his actions. That's the whole problem here. Scott wants to go along and have sex with Abby, smooch along with Abby, and he doesn't want to take responsibility for what he's done. He wants to write it off and say it was for this reason or that reason. But no, you did it, own it, and I loved that she forced him to do that. The oatmeal moment was so great. What was it? I don't know. She had something in the oven. She comes back with a bowl for him and she says, yeah, here's your dinner, and dumps it on his head. The viewers had to have all been cheering at that, right? That's what we've been waiting for. And I'll tell you something else. When Sharon, after she pretty much broke it off with Scott, when she went to the athletic club, ordered a tequila sunrise, and went over to Abby's table, I really thought that Abby was going to get a drink in the face. I thought maybe Sharon was just in the mood to dump food onto her enemies, but she didn't do that. Abby didn't get a drink in the face. She just got an earful from Sharon, all of the things that needed to be said. And I don't know about you, but I was Team Sharon all the way. Everything that came out of her mouth directed at Abby, I was like, yeah, you go, Sharon. I mean, was anybody not Team Sharon? I think that's a good, if there was anybody out there who was not feeling it, because maybe if you're Team Abby, you could see it as inappropriate that Sharon approached Abby in public, confronted her, pretty much called her a slut instead of in front of everyone. I mean, heads were turning. Everyone in the restaurant was aware of exactly what was being said between them. I mean, for crying out loud, it turned into a knockdown drag out. I mean, the ladies were like fighting. I mean, Sharon slapped Abby in the face and Abby came back at her. Blonde hair was flying all over the place. It was fantastic. Oh, it was just so juicy. I thought it was funny though too that Sharon Case was most certainly present in that fight scene, but you could tell that Y&R switched out to a stunt double. I'm sure that they can't have a very pregnant Melissa Ordway in a fight scene, so you could tell they switched out. Abby had a stunt double for the fight because that hair was definitely not hers, but that was a funny little touch. But I liked it. I just did. I mean, the drama was excellent, and the fact that after the fight happened, who does Scott go to console? Abby! That says it all right there. Did he go up to Sharon and say, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry? Not really. He was in Abby's corner saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I think that just says a lot right there. I mean, he's trying to do damage control and he's saying with his lips that he wants Sharon, but he's over there making sure Abby's okay. I thought it was also kind of a funny moment that Lauren happened to be in the restaurant when all of this is going on with her son, and she tries to come up to Scott and ask him, what's going on? You were cheating on Sharon? I mean, she's trying to inquire, and Scott, he comes back at her like a teenage boy and says, not now, Mom. Can't you see I'm busy? I don't want to talk about it. And then he runs to his room and slams the door. That was just kind of funny. He's just such a weenie wimp all week this week. I was so happy when Sharon went home after the fight, takes a big old pile of his clothes and dumps them right on Abby's doorstep. Wasn't that great? Like, that felt like something that a scorned woman, a scorned lover would actually do. I could see someone in reality taking that move, like all of this jerk's clothes, throwing it on the other woman's doorstep, like, here, you can have him. You dealing with him now. Scott comes up, realizes what Sharon has done, he's trying to plead his case with Sharon when Abby opens up the door to this little domestic dispute happening on her front doorstep. There was an engagement ring in Scott's items, and he had pulled it out. He had told Sharon that he was planning on proposing to her. I was so glad she did not fall for it though, because when he showed her the ring and she picked it up and looked at it, I thought, oh my gosh, is she gonna forgive him and say, okay, we can get back together? But she did not. She dropped that engagement ring on the ground and just smashed it into the dirt with her heel. You go, Sharon. That's exactly what he deserves. Things with Sharon and Scott, hallelujah, are O-V-E-R. A-M-E-N, amen. Can I get an amen from the crowd? Again, Scott is not a bad guy, but he's the dog in this situation, and I don't feel sorry for him. I just don't. I don't feel entirely sorry for Abby though either. I feel like Abby was a participant in this. I mean, she knew what the score was between Scott and Sharon, and yet she still got involved with him. I mean, the appropriate thing to do would have been to force him to break up with Sharon before pursuing anything with him. But now she seems done with him too. I mean, the next day, Abby is sitting in her car and Scott, like, lets himself on into her car door. She's getting ready for work and this guy opens up her car door and jumps into her passenger seat. She almost maced him. I was sort of hoping that she would. I'm so over this guy. I mean, what is he thinking? What is he thinking? Just like pursuing her kind of relentlessly. He also corners her at Newman Enterprises and tries to talk about a way that they can work on fewer projects together. Victoria keeps putting them in situations where they have to work together and they want to find a way out of it. Well, for someone who's trying to spend less time with Abby, you're most certainly going out of your way to find her, to track her down. For crying out loud, he's told her that he had been riding the elevator up and down for this is horrible, for hours, waiting for her to get in the elevator so that they could have a private moment together. Are you kidding me? What is he thinking? He has no idea what he wants, and I have lost my ability to read it. And I'm glad that neither woman is deciding to take him in and say, oh, Scott, we're so sorry for you. Oh, you're going through this and we really understand. And I'm glad that both women are seemingly through with him. Abby announces that she has found a way to postpone having to work with Scott any further. She and Lily are going to Paris. They're going to Paris on a work promo tour, which I think is fantastic. And I have a feeling that Abby is going to Paris, and this is the point in the story where the actress Melissa Ordway goes off on her maternity leave. In all of the commotion surrounding Sharon and Abby's athletic club fight, Christian wanders away from Chelsea's business meeting with Lauren that she's having over in another part of the restaurant. So Christian just kind of bumbles off. Ironically, it was right after Abby and said to Sharon, okay, fine, I'll own up to being a man stealer, but at least I'm not a baby stealer. Oh, I wonder if that's a little bit of a hint, because Sharon thought that Christian was her child for a long period of time. When she realized that it was not her child, she did not exactly come forth with that information right away. So that's a little bit of a flashback to where we were a year ago with the Sully transitioning into Christian thing, which I think is going to transition into a Sharon and Nick raising Christian thing in the future, because this whole, Christian slips away and it causes a really big problem between Nick and Chelsea. There was definitely some breaks going on in their relationship, which is understandable in a way, because how scary that must be to lose a child. I guess, now that I have a kid, there's a part of me that's like worried about that and can't help identifying with that, because first of all, my only reference for child rearing is soap operas. So I'm like, oh no. Chelsea said that Christian is 2 years old. My daughter is 1 year old. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, next year must be the wander away year. I'm going to have to especially watch her starting next year, or probably anywhere right now. Kids just go missing very frequently, apparently. So I got to extra watch her. Honestly, I think Christian probably just wanted to get in on the action. Both of those kids, Connor and Christian, were sitting there watching Sharon and Abby fight like they were as engrossed as I was. Christian had his mouth hanging open the whole time. Connor was sitting there with his hand on his cheek like, can somebody bring me some popcorn? That was the best part, honestly, looking at the reaction on the kid's face while these two ladies have hair flying all over the place. Oh, I seriously think Christian was probably just looking for more drama. But the moment that I realized Christian went missing only moments after Dina Mergeron was in a car with a driver, telling the driver that she wants to make an unscheduled stop, I knew that those two were connected. And you want to know why? Because Y&R is doing the same thing with Dina as they did with Sharon just a couple of years ago. Oh, Sharon's off her meds. Guess she's gonna go do some crazy things now. Oh, Dina's has Alzheimer's. I guess she's gonna steal a baby. That's disappointing. It really is. It is disappointing. This whole thing really turned very sad and really dark. Dina has apparently, she's skipping around on the space-time continuum. She thinks that Jack is her husband, John. First of all, how unsettling must that be for him to have his mother calling him husband? And Dina thinks that because she's back in time, she's gone back to the future here. She thinks that little Christian is little Jack. She thinks that Jack is her husband and Christian is little Jackie, and she's upstairs having cocoa and fun times with this missing kid that she's somehow acquired. I felt so bad for her, but I mean, I guess probably as a new parent, I felt worse for Nick and Chelsea. Just the fact that they didn't know where their child was and they were coming apart. I mean, bad things happen, and I mean, children do get kidnapped in reality, and I'm sure that your mind goes to the worst of places, and they unfortunately started going at each other instead of coming together. Nick had asked Chelsea to watch him. She was in the middle of a very busy business day, trying to balance her job, her source of income, with being a mother to these two children. Nick had asked Chelsea to watch the child, and unfortunately the child slipped away on her watch. So Nick resorts to blaming her, which I'm sure that he didn't mean. I'm sure that it was just his gut reaction on, why did you let this happen? I think that it might be natural to just lash out, but it didn't look good, and it made Chelsea feel horrible. I mean, she already felt terrible. Can you imagine that happening to you when she really didn't do anything wrong? As she said, I had turned away for a second. It was literally a second, and he was gone. Kids are quick. So and she didn't have time for this anyway. She was doing him a favor by watching the child in the first place. So it was just hard to see them going at each other instead of coming together. And I also don't know why Nick is so tortured at this point. Why is Nick always the victim of Dina's nuttiness? First it was her burning down the underground, burning down his club, and now she's kidnapped his son. At the Abbott mansion, eventually Jack and Ashley both realize what's happened here. There's a little toddler running around the house. They know who it is, so they call Nick and Chelsea to come pick up their son. And when they get there, Dina is practically holding that child in a death grip. She does not want to let him go. She's calling him little Jackie. She's like got him in her arms. Nick and Chelsea are horrified seeing Dina call their son Jackie. I'm sorry, but again, I feel for Dina. I feel for the Abbotts. But as a new parent, you have no idea how fast I would have ripped that kid out of Dina's arms. I would have knocked her over to get my kid back. I don't care what she's dealing with. Like, I know that there's empathy to be had there, but I gotta give Nick and Chelsea a little bit of credit for the restraint that they showed. I would have blasted in there to get my child. Mama bear. Dina would have been a bag of bones on the floor. As much as I love her, I'm sorry, but that was a bad situation. Nick and Chelsea, like, obviously get Christian back eventually, but it wasn't until real-time adult Jackie was able to convince her to even let Christian go. Does everybody still think that my suggestion 2 months ago to put Dina in a facility is ridiculous? I don't think so. This is crime number 3 in 2 months. First it was arson, then it was assault, now it's kidnapping. Do you really still think this woman should still be cared for at home? Obviously the Abbotts aren't doing a very good job of managing it, and they are starting to realize that. I mean, they did have a moment this week of checking out a long-term care facility and trying and they ultimately went and toured a place and then decided that she shouldn't be there, obviously for storyline purposes. Of course, I don't want them to send Dina away to a home. I think she's fantastic, but at the same time, it's just like, in reality, what's worse, the idea of putting her in this home knowing that that's where she's going to be safe, or not knowing if she's going to endanger herself or someone else, getting into all of these crazy hijinks, out in the real world, stealing somebody's child? I guess I'm connecting with that so much because I can't imagine someone taking my child. Whether it's unintentional, no matter what the good intentions are, that to me, it's a breaking point, I suppose. But here's the thing. It turns out that Dina had an accomplice, or not exactly, more of an instigator in the whole kidnapping crime. There's more to the story. This week's poll question: were you glad to see the return of Graham? YRChat.com. I want to hear all of your comments and get your votes on the return of Graham. A devilish smile did sprawl across my face when I saw him in the corner of the athletic club watching all the drama go down. But I did not realize that he was the one who suggested Dina take Christian. Oh, what a bad, I mean, that is, come on, that is pretty bad. Dina was obviously, this is another reason she should be in a care facility with people who know how to deal with this, where she wouldn't be put in a situation where she could be probed into kidnapping a child. I mean, I like the drama that Graham causes, though. It's like I'm twisted, because it ultimately is Graham's fault that all of this happened to Nick and Chelsea. Yet at the same time, I do like the potential drama that he brings to the show, and I feel the same way about Dina. Apparently, Dina went to the club, and Graham sees Dina doting on Christian, and he presents her with this scenario, knowing that she has Alzheimer's. He's known this for quite a while, and he presents her with this scenario where this is little Jackie, and people are trying to take little Jackie away from Dina, so they should leave. He should help her get out of there as quickly as possible. Of course, creating the problem so that he can offer the solution. In fact, Graham shows up at the Abbott mansion while Tracy is spending time with Dina, and it was a really difficult time, by the way. The scenes with Dina and Tracy this week, Dina didn't even realize that she was having a conversation with her own daughter. Dina didn't even realize that Tracy had lost a child. I mean, just Dina asking her daughter questions as if she were a stranger was so hard to watch. And of course, Tracy making those comments about, mothers feeling like they might want to leave their children. It just, I mean, it created just a really, just a tragic yet compelling dynamic, I would say, those scenes. But Dina doesn't recognize her own daughter, yet she recognized Graham immediately when he shows up at the mansion. She calls him by name, she welcomes him right through the front door, and Graham turns around, locks the door, locks Tracy out of the house so that he can have a moment alone with Dina, which Dina wants. Dina wants to be with Graham. She's told Jack earlier in the week he can hire all the caretakers that he wants to take care of her, but who she wants is Graham. I don't know why she recognizes him. Maybe it's because he does nothing but dote affection on her. Graham seems to know what the magic combination to making Dina happy is, even if he has to be underhanded to do it. He's isolated in the room with Dina, talking to her, convincing her how, great they are together. Tracy's on the outside of the Abbott mansion calling Jack on the phone saying, you gotta come here. I mean, Graham's here and he's in the house with Mother. I mean, the Abbotts end up showing up. Both Jack and Ashley show up at the door, see exactly what Graham is doing, that he's manipulating Dina. He's insisting that he still has her medical attorney, power of attorney, and he wants to take Dina away from them. There is no way that the Abbotts are going to let that happen, right? They ended up forcibly removing Graham from the house. I gasped when Jack punched Graham in the gut. He literally just punches him and tosses him physically out the front door. It was shocking yet fascinating to me to see Jack getting physical with Graham. I think that speaks a lot to the situation, and it speaks a lot to how visceral Jack is in reaction to what's happening, here, that he's absolutely at any cost not going to let someone just walk out the door with his mother. I really hope that Jack and Ashley are able to come together in arbitration to deal with whatever legal issues they need to deal with at Jabot, because they have a new enemy to fight, and it's gonna be better if they come together and fight him together. Like I said, Graham still has this medical power of attorney in the state of Wisconsin, and he wants to exercise it. He wants to be with Dina. Dina wants to be with him. My question is, why? First of all, I'm sure all of this will be answered, but where did Graham go? And why is he coming back now? And why does he want her? Why does he want to be with her? Is it still about completing his mother's revenge? Does he wish harm on Dina? Or is it about money? I mean, did Jack not have him successfully written out of the will? As we remember, Graham was the beneficiary to Dina's entire estate, and Jack said he was going to write Graham out. Did that not happen? Does Graham realize that he is still the beneficiary? And if so, Graham could just sit back and collect that money without the burden of having to deal with Dina's medical issues. So I don't know if it's just that. Did he maybe miss the lifestyle that the money, it gave him? Is he just looking for a paycheck for taking care of her as opposed to the full windfall of her estate? Or does he have some kind of sick, twisted affection for her? Did he miss being with her? Does he like looking after her? My head is spinning with possibilities of what he could be after. Is Dina like some sort of bargaining chip? Is he going to use his relationship with Dina to get some type of leverage at Jabot? Does he already have a connection to Dina that we don't even know about? Does he have more of a connection to Dina than what we already know about? I don't know, but I'm so interested. I really, really am. I did not know that Graham was going to be back. So when he popped up on the screen, I was very surprised. And indeed, I'm voting that yes, I am glad Graham is back on the scene. I personally have got to hand it to Y&R on this one for bringing Graham back. I think that Mal Young must have listened to us chatters and maybe he saw the potential that this character actually can have on the show. I can see Graham becoming a long-term character here. I think if they roll out a twist that makes Graham a long-lost Abbott sibling, I will watch him battle the Abbotts for the next 20 years.
The Chancellor Mansion has become the Chancellor Bachelor Pad. Well, maybe not for long, but Kane offers JT a job at Chancellor Industries, which is great, and also, though, invites him to live at the mansion. Maybe that's where JT is going to end up staying eventually. It's going to be 2 against 1, though, because early in the week, Jill was able to convince Billy to take a position as co-CEO of Chancellor Industries. I can't believe that Billy accepted. I mean, it's almost a little bit hard to believe that Billy accepted. He seems to be enjoying his life of leisure, and there are so many reasons to not get caught up in the business drama if he doesn't want to or need to. But I suppose the chance to stick it to Kane and JT in one fell swoop was an opportunity that was too good for Billy to pass up. Plus, it's going to be good to have him in that company and with that dynamic, because the potential, the dynamic here is not entirely hostile. That's kind of the cool thing about it, is that there's like, they don't like each other, but there's also maybe there's history there. There's maybe even a little bit of respect there. I don't know. Who would have thought it? And then in 2018, that Billy and JT and Kane would be working at Chancellor Industries together, that company would become a hotbed for hotties. I mean, literally a hotbeddable trio of sexy executive men's at Chancellor Industries. I really feel that Catherine would be smiling down upon that, right? Oh, well, I thought it was interesting too that even though Billy is on the opposite side of the fence for the most part from Kane and JT, it was Billy and Phyllis who were able to convince Kane and Lily to have a reunion. All last week, Jill tried to do she pushed all Christmas, she pushed all New Year's to try to get these two back together, and who would have thunk that Billy and Phyllis would be the ones to finally take the credit, who got the results for it, I suppose. First of all, I have to say that Billy and Phyllis are never on my screen and not making me smile. I just like them. I like the dynamic between these two actors. It works. It brings some levity. It brings some spice, some romance to the show, some humor to the show. I think they're fantastic together. Phyllis was able to talk to Kane and say, why don't you just put your cards on the table when it comes to Lily? Just be honest with her. That's what women want. And then at the same time, Billy was having a conversation with Lily that was even more interesting. I liked that there was almost a semi-aggressiveness between Billy and Lily. Billy was making some disparaging comments about Kane, which caused Lily to snap right on back and defend Kane. I mean, that speaks volumes. I think it made hearing someone talk bad about her husband gave Lily this natural reaction to want to defend her husband, and maybe even made her realize how much she does still care about Kane. So for weeks, these two have not been able to get on the same page, each of them apparently thinking that the other one didn't want to get back together, if you can even believe it. But finally, with a little bit of probing, Kane breaks the ice, comes over to Lily and says, did I break us? I mean, we can't even have a conversation anymore. It's so awkward. Was that me? And I really liked that finally they just had an open conversation. Lily agrees, let's just talk this out. Let's be more honest about what we both want. Let's table the divorce and work on this relationship. It's so clear that they both still love each other. And at the very end of Friday's show, just as Lily is getting ready to walk out the door and go on her business trip with Abby to Paris, Lily and Kane decide to seize the day. It's a new year. It's a new opportunity. And rather than just walking out, allowing Lily to walk out the door, say goodbye, and then regret it, they run to each other, they embrace, and they share a passionate kiss, très romantique. Devious is my specialty. Well, Jill, for someone who has a specialty in deviousness, you were not able to complete the job. It was Jill who said that line last week to Devon regarding her plan to reunite Lily and Kane on New Year's Eve. But I have to say, Jill, it is a little bit sad that Jill set all that up. I mean, she was really pushing for them so hard, and then Billy and Phyllis just waltz in and give Lily and Kane the push that they really needed. I guess sometimes maybe hearing things from your mom is not really what helped you seal the deal there. So anyway, congratulations to everybody who guessed that was Jill. Congratulations, Lynn, Henry, Ambreen, Gary, Jamie and Isabel, Tommy, Ian, Shakona, Heather, Diana. You guys all got it right. How about this quote from this week? It seemed a little harsh. I am reckless and stupid, and I deserve whatever I get. Who said it? If you think you know, you can go to yrchat.com and leave your guess. And if you get it right, I will give you your shout out on next week's Y&R Chat. Okay, let's get down to our very first comments of 2018. And let's start out with Aaron on YouTube, who says, I wish everyone would give Lily a break with Kane. This woman has had to deal with so many of his lies. It is true, Aaron. I mean, I think we're all just, we have kind of short-term memories as fans sometimes, but it is true. I mean, Kane's path has been lie after lie after lie and forgiveness after forgiveness after forgiveness from Lily. So I agree. I had tended to give her a little bit more leeway, but it was still nice to see the reunion. Tanya at YRChat.com wanted to sound off here about Sharon saying, I really love the way Sharon acted this week, and I'm really glad that she did not have a breakdown. It's so interesting, Tanya, too, because that's exactly what we all expected. Didn't we all kind of think, ooh, a little bit nervous to see how Sharon's going to react to that? And she even addressed it with Mariah, and that's not what happened. So I also do like in the writing that we were playing against type there. So that was good. T. Nicole at YRChat.com says, it frustrates me that Abby thinks she can just say sorry and that should be it. If Sharon wants to feel anger, then she should. It would be wrong if all of her anger was directed at Abby and none at Scott, but it's at both. They both hurt her and betrayed her. I didn't get the feeling that Abby really understood what pain she caused. You know, I think that it probably would have been right, T. Nicole, to see a little bit more remorse from Abby, don't you think? She seemed very defiant, and maybe it's because Sharon was the one that approached her. Maybe it was because Sharon had hostility immediately toward her, but I think it probably would have been the right thing, although less of the juicy thing, for Abby to say, I am sorry that this happened, because it wasn't the right thing to do, getting involved with Scott, knowing what the situation was with Sharon, and Abby damn well did know that. It wasn't the right thing to do to get involved with somebody else's boyfriend. So I like your point that really Sharon has a right to be upset with both of them. I think Scott would be the primary betrayer here, but I think that there's a little bit of something that maybe Abby should have had some mea culpa. Didn't she learn her lesson after having the affair with Summer's husband, Austin? I mean, Abby she did have an affair with a married man, and now here she is again, not that long later, having an affair with somebody else's boyfriend. I mean, this is a pattern for Abby, right? This is Scott's a first-time offender as far as we know, but yeah, this is a repeat pattern for Abby. Katie on Facebook says, Scott isn't doing a good job with fixing things with Sharon when after the fight, he pulls Abby to the side to talk to her. Seriously, he just needs to admit that he wants to be with Abby instead of making Sharon look like a fool. Okay, this brings up a really good point, Katie, because why can't Scott just admit that he wants to be with Abby? I don't see what the problem is. Like, it's so obvious that Scott just wants to be with Abby. It's in his actions. Is he, he was imagining, there was that scene a couple weeks ago where he was imagining Abby while he was making out with Sharon. Is he so totally out of touch with his own feelings that he doesn't realize how he feels about Abby? Connor at YRChat.com says, Scott needs a grip on reality. I was looking forward to his character when he debuted, but as of the past couple months, I have grown tired and annoyed with him. Any decent human being knows that you can't move forward in a relationship with someone proclaiming your love for them and moving into their home while at the same time lusting over someone else. Agreed, Connor. I mean, for the first part, are we done with Scott now? I mean, are we going to keep Scott? I would love to know the answer to that. But the other part of this that bugs me is that Scott blamed some of his behavior on the fact that he just doesn't have relationship experience. Remember when Sharon asked Scott to move into her house, and then they had that awkward moment where she said she loved him and he hesitated before saying it back. When she confronted him about that, he said, yeah, sorry, I guess I just didn't know about relationships. I didn't pick up on the fact that I had to love you in order to move in with you, was kind of the essence of what he was saying. But even if you don't have this relationship experience, you do have human experience experience, Scott, and anybody with half a brain should know better than to move in with a woman while you're attracted to another and to continue to have this ongoing attraction. It was never fair to Sharon. You don't have to be a relationship expert to pick up on the fact that it was never fair to Sharon. I think that Scott is redeemable. Anyone is. I mean, for crying out loud, people have done far, 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 far worse. It's just a matter of whether or not Y&R is going to take that extra step. I don't know. I mean, the actor did a good job this week. I will give him props for that. I mean, he seemed so sad. He seemed so remorseful. He was shaken. You know, I mean, I think the actor did really well, and it's certainly possible that Y&R could turn it around. It's just whether or not they want to. Here's the potential. Daisy on Facebook says, I'm wondering if Abby will return from Paris pregnant with Scott's child. Even though I don't think Scott is ready for a committed relationship with anyone, I'd still like to see he and Abby become parents. I'd love to see how how Lauren would react, and more important, what apology she'd give Abby, if any, just so she could see her grandchild. That is true. Michael and Lauren have no grandchildren. That could be a way to bring them back onto the landscape. And it was clear that at first blush, Lauren was not any more pleased with Scott's relationship with Abby than she was with Scott's relationship with Sharon. So that could be a twist. I don't think they're going to get rid of Scott. I just don't. I can see them trying to turn his character around, and it's not going to take much other than time. James at YRChat.com is weighing in on Nick and Chelsea here, saying Chelsea's best shot to save her relationship with Nick is to come clean about Christian's paternity. It's inevitable that the secret will come out from another source and Nick will never forgive her. Victor will do anything possible to leverage that secret over her to spend time with Christian. It does seem, James, like Y&R is planting a little bit of seed there, right? That's coming up more and more. Christian's paternity is coming up more and more. They're hinting at it. So I have a feeling that this is going to be a front burner paternity twist for 2018. Ellen at YRChat.com has a really interesting potential kind of tract for this. Ellen says maybe Chelsea should confide in Nikki that Christian is Adam's son, and that Victor is threatening to tell Nick. Nikki would be furious that Victor would even consider hurting Nick that way after Nick has already lost one child, Cassie. Nikki could tell Victor to leave Chelsea alone, or Nikki will either leave him or tell Paul that Victor got Chloe out of jail and framed Adam. That's a really good possibility. I mean, that would certainly stop the paternity secret from coming out. I just think that Y&R wants it to come out in a way. But yeah, that is like exactly a great solution for what Chelsea should do. Oh, let's talk about the Abbotts. Kiki on YouTube says, Sharon and Graham, anyone? Yes. Okay, the second you said that, Sharon and Graham, I was like, yep. I love this comment. I just about lost it because yes. I want Graham and Dina to stay on the show. I just think that there's so much potential here. I wish that Y&R would pull back on Dina's Alzheimer's and give us some Graham, give us some complexity to the Graham character. I really think that he and Sharon could definitely make an interesting match. I really like that idea. I mean, there's so much potential of who we could pair him with. I mean, he's a sibling to Ashley, and there's too much going on there. So Sharon would be another prime candidate to just snatch up our sexy new man. I don't know how long he's going to be on the show for, by the way. I always get my soaps in depth late now. When you have a subscription, you don't even get it before it comes on the newsstand. So I'm always late. It doesn't arrive on time. And I opened it up this morning to find, after I've already seen Graham's return, to see that he had that the actor had returned to the show. And it did say a little snippet in the article that that Y&R is not saying how long Graham's going to be on the show for. So we don't know if he's back long term or just for a short term little storyline stint. I guess we'll find out as time goes on. Diana at YRChat.com says, I wonder if Y&R will make the twist that Brett Davis is not Graham's father after all, but John Abbott's son, as I suspected before. Now, Diana has given us a little scenario here that I think you guys will find interesting, and that if this is it, if this is the one, this is genius. So Diana says the scenario could be that Graham's mother and Dina both had affairs with Brent Davis and John Abbott. That's why Graham's mother is hell-bent on revenge. Dina won the heart of the better man, John Abbott, making Graham's mother very jealous. A blood test could reveal that Graham is a blood Abbott, ding, 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 and Graham then attempts to take over Jabot since only a blood Abbott can run the company. Ooh, I love that so much. I really, really like that. Also, Diana says, I think that we're in for a new love interest for Ashley. Ashley's lawyer is a good-looking man who Ashley seemed happy to hear was not married. This could definitely anger Ravi and open up a new storyline where Ravi seeks revenge for feeling used by Ashley. I was wondering about that scene with the lawyer too. I don't know if it's gonna go anywhere or if it's just Y&R giving us hints that Ashley is now open to other possibilities, that she's on the market. The lawyer was very good looking. I don't know, and I liked that he had a little bit of a rivalry going with Michael. I haven't heard anything about who that guy was and if he's cast on the show long term at all. But yeah, I think that that was a little seed that could grow. Consuela at yrchat.com says, I have to say, I love Peter Bergman. His acting is astounding, and he acts with his face and his eyes. I love when he has to do emotional scenes like this because his eyes say it all. You could see the sadness and heartbreak that Jack felt for his mother as he realizes her condition is getting much worse to where she would kidnap a child. Yes. I mean, really, yes. Peter Bergman is holding it together. It really, really is impressive what a good actor he is. Yes, agreed. Anna left me a voicemail saying, okay. Graham wants Dina's money. He has ulterior motives. We all know that. But it would make Dina truly happy to be with Graham. Even though he's a snake, I don't believe he would hurt her. It may be a tough pill for the family to swallow, but I think that what's best for Dina is to let her be with Graham. I think that there's no way, Anna, that the Abbotts are gonna get rid of him. I don't think they're gonna have a choice but to accept his presence one way or another, whether it's hostile or not. The thing is, if Dina loves Graham and Dina perceives Jack and Ashley and Tracy as trying to keep her from something she loves, that's only going to force her into more misery. That's only going to make her feel more like a prisoner in her own life. That's no better for her than putting her into a long-term care facility. So yes, I think probably the Abbotts aren't going to have a choice when it comes to accepting Graham's potential place in Dina's life. Gary also left me a voicemail saying, Allie, what's better than Graham returning to take care of Dina? Well, except for that pesky little business about him leaving her for dead. But never mind about that. Yes, we also cannot forget that he did leave her for dead. She had collapsed on the floor and he did walk out. I mean, he did come back a little bit later, but the man did not call for help. So that says a little something. Unless he has had some kind of a change of heart there. I think we still need some resolution on this whole business of revenge with his mother, which I think was kind of a yucky storyline anyway. But I want some resolution on that. Gary also was commenting on one of my predictions. Last week we talked a little bit about our predictions for 2018, and one of my top predictions was that Genoa City would be losing Ms. Mergeron, that they would mourn her death. And Gary did not like that. He says, I think your theory is about to go poof now that Graham is back in town. I certainly hope so anyway, Gary says. Yes. I mean, I don't like it. Don't get me wrong. I love Dina. I don't want her to go away by any means, but it just seems like they've taken the character so far with this Alzheimer's that I don't know how they're going to pull it back. There is no cure for Alzheimer's, and they've made it so her disease has progressed so fast, and it's at such an intense stage that I don't know how they're going to continue this on through 2018. But I completely agree, Gary, that Graham's presence back on the scene bodes well for Dina's long-term stay on the show. I think bringing Graham back will pull potentially Dina back from the edge. Maybe there was something about Graham's presence that really helped her keep it all together, and we'll just believe that. So I think you're right. I think that prediction of mine probably is about to go poof. By the way, I love your predictions for 2018. I mean, some of them I'm sure are going to come true. A lot of people saying that they believe Hillary's going to be pregnant this year. I agree. But there were also some really excellent off the wall ones. I mean, you guys are very inventive, very creative. I'm only going to leave open our prediction thread for one more week, because then we're just talking about short-term things and predicting things that are obvious. So if you want to get in your predictions for this upcoming year for 2018, then go to yrchat.com, leave me your predictions, and then at the end of 2018, we'll read them, see what we got right and see what we got wrong. So I do enjoy reading those. Thank you to everybody who's contributed. Tony at yrchat.com says, to me it seems like Dina is getting old, or sorry, to me it seems like Dina was getting old when she first came onto the show, but was still able to conduct business when she came to town. She was, in my opinion, a Catherine Chancellor type character until they decided to give her Alzheimer's. Then suddenly she had Alzheimer's and progressed years worth in a few episodes. So yeah, I you know, it is sad that Dina had all of this potential of being a Catherine type character, a matriarch type character, and the fact that they made her more of that they gave her an illness is disappointing to me. I hate to admit this, but I love a grand dame. I think Y&R needs a grand dame. I was watching, this is terrible, but okay, I had Days of Our Lives on in the background only. As I was doing other things. I was not really focusing on it. But then this week they had this twist where this woman, I know very little about it, but they had this twist where this character named Vivian came back, and I can't think of who the actress is that plays her, but she has that grande dame sort of feel about her. She's very elaborate. She loves to wave her arms and make a big production out of things, and she's very, the actress's performance is very theatrical. It's very stage. It's very big, and it's just very, everything's kind of extravagant with her, and I watched that, and she drew me in. Dang it, I would watch that show just for that woman, because that's what Y&R needs. Y&R needs an older grande dame sort of lady who is eccentric and not in a criminal sort of way, and a sort of devilishly delicious and loves clothes. I mean, for crying out loud, the woman had a cape on. I'm like, where's, a nice cape. I could see that. I miss that. I think that is something that's missing from Y&R, and I think that they screwed up by bringing her on and deciding to, go with this Alzheimer's storyline. I think they should have brought on someone else. I think Dina had so much potential to be something else, and I too resent that this is where they've gone with it. Harper left me a voicemail also saying she's not a fan of the new format of the show, the fact that it's kind of jumping around and there are spaces in between scenes. Harper says, and I really hate what's become of Dina's character, and Graham is a silver fox, but he has got to go. So I can't wait this week to hear from some people on our poll question who want Graham to hit the road. I mean, I'm very excited about his return, but go to the website, tell me if you were glad to see Graham back, and if you want him to go, then tell me why. Tony at yrchat.com also commenting on the format, which we've been talking about, of course, with Y&R, saying more than once, I've started a day's episode thinking I missed one. From where one day ends and the next begins, they've skipped scenes. For example, Nick went to tell Sharon about Abby and Scott, but we didn't see every drawn-out I don't believe you tear. Soap operas are known for their slow presentation of each detail and nuance of a story. That's why we watch. We want to see it all, not presume that we know what happened anyway. And then on the flip side, I mean, it's like, I think there are fans of the new format and people who aren't a fan of the new format. Sandra says, if the old regime was writing these current shows, it would have taken days, if not a whole week, for things to come to a head. In 2 days, Abby and Scott were caught kissing, the truth came out, and a confrontation happened. I can remember with some storylines in the past, oh yes, where characters were literally wearing the same clothes for 5 to 6 episodes in a row, meaning it took so long to move on. I agree with both. I agree with Tony's point. I agree with Sandra's point. I mean, I think somewhere in the middle has to be the balance. I mean, I can't lie. I do feel annoyed, as Tony said, where there are scenes and moments that feel like they're being skipped. But I will give credit, as Sandra said, to Mal Young for the fact that it has created a swift payoff. We didn't have to wait around for days for everything to fall out with Sharon and Scott. And like you said, Sandra, I also remember, I remember back in the day, I mean, you guys know this too. I mean, soaps used to drag. So I will give some credit for the fact that it all came to a head really quickly. I'll also say, I think in favor of Mal, giving Mal some credit here, I think that this week was tight and it was focused. There are some weeks where, and I know because I kind of like have to journal and present a recap and a summary and an opinion on Y&R, some weeks in the past, there have been like 6 to 7 storylines that were sparsely touched on. And it's hard to, create some, a chat segment around things where it's like, yeah, that happened, but nothing really paid off and it's not really noteworthy. Whereas this week, there were only 3 to 4 core stories that were focused on. Now, I don't know if it was because of the holiday. We only had 4 episodes, but I did appreciate the, being able to dig in and concentrate on a few core stories. So, I mean, there you have it. There's good and there's bad, and I'm sure that Mal is I'm going to give him enough leeway to hope that he's working toward creating a little bit more balance to make both sides of the fan base happy. Well, there you have it, chatters. It is our first chat of 2018. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you are at least finding some things that you love about the show this week. If you aren't, go to yrchat.com. I would love to get your opinions. I'd love to get your predictions for the upcoming year. I'd love to get all of your insights about the show. Anything you want to say, I love to hear it. Voicemail 309-588-4569 if you'd like to leave a quick voice comment or anything. I love hearing from you guys, and I will see you next Sunday. Everybody have a good week. Bye.